Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In this video I'm going to take a look at the best Hearthstone decks after the Ramp Paladin nerf, so the best Hearthstone decks at the beginning of March 2021. Overall, after the Ramp Paladin nerf, the meta is still more splintered than it has been for a while. None of the current decks have reached the popularity levels of Ramp Paladin or even what Token Druid was before that nerf. So in general you can say that the higher you go on the ladder, the more rogues you're going to meet. Rogue is like overall the deck that defines the meta the most, but it's a fairly splintered meta, so you can expect to meet a lot of different decks. And also a lot of decks work in this meta. So typically I'm able to get like 5 decks or 8 decks that are clearly above the rest. In this video I have 10 decks and I could have considered even putting in a couple more. Anyway, let's take a look at the 10 best decks in Hearthstone right now. And coming in at number 10 is 2 Warlock. 2 Warlock is a fun little deck. You play a lot of minions on the board, you buff them up, you take damage. As you take damage, your giants become cheaper, you can get some big giants on the board, you can broomstick your giants to give them rush, you get a lot of card draw with discarding Hand of Gul'dan. A deck that really allows you to play the game a lot, which is a lot of fun. The main problem with 2 in the current meta is that 2's worst matchup is Rogue. And the higher you go, the more rogues you're going to meet. So even though 2 Warlock has a couple of really good matchups, like Hunters and Secret Mages, and it has a lot of matchups that are either slightly unfavored or slightly favored for the deck, so there are a lot of opportunities for the deck. But the bad rogue matchup can really hurt 2 in specific meta pockets. Coming in at number 9 is Spell Damage Mage. Games are quick, you get to do a lot of explosive stuff, what is there not to like? Spell Damage Mage also has great matchups against 2 of the very popular decks in Token Druid and Aggro Rogue. You can easily clear token boards, you can easily clear stealth minions, and you can Frostbolt Rogue's face to prevent them from hitting you. However, Spell Damage Mage also has its downsides because Paladin and Warrior matchups are pretty tough. So there are matchups where you just run out of damage and are unable to continue. Token Druid is the second most popular deck right after Rogue, and for good reason. The deck is really cheap to build, the games are fast, and you get to punch a lot of face damage with Savage Roars. You're just constantly being threatening the opponent has to clear your board, or you're just threatening them lethal all the time. Token Druid is also perhaps the strongest counter to Aggro Rogue, which makes it a good choice in some meta pockets, but it's weaker against the other popular rogue deck, the Whirlkick Rogue. And also Mages and Warriors pose problems for the Druid. Coming in at number 7 is Highlander Hunter. Yeah, Highlander Hunter might not be that popular, but it's always strong. It just keeps being a strong deck. It's strong against Aggro Rogues, it's strong against Secret Mages, it has tons of matchups that are close to 50-50, so most of the time you always have a chance. But it has 2 major weaknesses in the current meta, Whirlkick Rogue and Broom Paladin. So there are some positions where Highlander Hunter just isn't able to keep pushing on. There is another Highlander deck that's even more well positioned for the current meta than Highlander Hunter, and that deck is Highlander Mage. Highlander Mage can also punish Aggro Rogues, it can punish Token Druids, it can even punish Paladins. But overall Highlander Mage doesn't have the highest of the highs in the matchups, neither does it have the lowest of the lows. And its really weak matchups, which are Priest and Control Warlock, are not very common, so that's not a huge problem for the deck. It's more like the deck is a jack of all trades, so you just don't get to roll over people as much as you get with some of the decks, even though you have no weaknesses either. Coming in at number 5 is the Aggro Rogue, and the list has not changed for the past couple of weeks. This is just how it goes, and it's really, really good. As you have seen from the previous decks that I've showcased, there are a lot of counters for Aggro Rogue. There are decks that can beat this. But as an upside, the decks that this deck beats, it beats really hard. Games are quick, you just instantly roll over much of the opposition. Sometimes you meet counter matchups, okay, that's fine. Even then you always have a chance because you can just pull off like 15-20 damage out of nowhere with the right draws. So Aggro Rogue remains very, very scary. Coming in at number 4 is ETC Warrior. ETC is still good. It's a control deck, you control the game, you can defend, and then you have that sweet combo. If your opponent relies on having minions on the board, as most decks do right now, then you can just kill them. You're strong against Token Druid, you're even strong against Whirlkick Rogue, which is a really difficult matchup to target. But there are also weaknesses, like Priests and Paladins and Guardian Druids, who can just either starve you out, or they can deliver such constant pressure that it's hard to keep up. My recommendation number 3 is Whirlkick Rogue. I know some analysts are saying that Whirlkick Rogue is the best deck in the game, and yeah, it's not far off. It has very few weaknesses, it's only weak against Warriors, Enrage Warriors, ETC Warriors, it even beats Bomb Warrior. And it's weak against Resurrect Priest, but no one is playing Resurrect Priest anyway. And it's strong against many meta decks like Token Druid and Mages, and the remaining meta decks that it's not strong against, it's at least 50-50 against those. It turns out that infinitely generating resources is pretty powerful. My number 2 recommendation is one of those decks that counter Whirlkick Rogue, that's Enrage Warrior. Enrage Warrior has a bunch of really strong matchups because it's good at clearing these small white boards. Token Druids, Rogues, Spell Damage Mages, even Highlander Hunters can also generate a bunch of armor, so a very strong deck defensively. Then its finisher depends on these charge minions pushing through, and that can be a problem against some of the opponents. Like Brune Paladins just heal up, and they have big taunts on the way, and ETC Warriors just have so much armor that it's hard to finish them off. But across the meta as a whole, Enrage Warrior is currently performing better than ETC Warrior, thanks to the many extremely strong matchups that it has. But when it comes to the best deck in the game, Brune Paladin is again where it's at. Ramp Paladin was nerfed, Ramp Paladin is gone, Brune Paladin prevails. Good against mages, good against warriors, good against hunters, good against demon hunters. The main weaknesses like priest, Gallagher, Warlock, they're not very popular, and even against rogues you're not doing poorly. So Brune Paladin just has an extremely favorable matchup spread at the moment. And if you can tolerate listening to hey loser, hey loser, hey loser, hey loser, hey loser, hey loser, yeah, for many times, then this is a great deck to climb. Everyone is of course anxiously waiting for the rotation for the brand new meta. But even in this current meta, decks like Rogue and Token Druid get a lot of attention, but there are lots of alternatives to climb all the way to Legend.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.